finally, we get a huge win after the Bruins finally shoot the puck. It's what we mentioned in yesterday's stream after the game. They needed to shoot the puck. We saw what happened when they shoot the puck. It was going in, and this is a very big win for the Bruins, and this is one that I was really hoping to see. First period I missed. I saw the second period. I was like, oh, if this second period continues in the third, this is not going to be a good result, but a big third from the Bruins, and I'm very happy with this win. I think this is a very, very big one that they got to take forward with how they are going to play in the next coming games. This one is just something that exactly what they needed to do, as Charlie McAvoy said at the end of last game, and I believe I do still have the screenshot somewhere here, right here. The dam's going to break at some point. I just hope it's soon. And it was absolutely soon enough. The very next night, this team goes out and absolutely piles it on to Elias Sorokin in net. What a big win. A very, very big win. They played really good in the third and the second. I was worried they were going to give up the game and how bad it was. I agree, Jaden. That's my exact thoughts as well. As I mentioned, I didn't get to see the first, but watching the second, it really didn't look like that team should have won that game, but it felt like they learned from the second period. Instead of learning over a couple game span, they learned mid-game, which is something that we've been hoping the Bruins were going to do, and I do have a few screenshots here tonight. Once again, I'm not going to be live too much, but or too long, I should say, here tonight. But I do have a few screenshots before we get into it. Kevin, a bad goal to tie it, 3-3. Nice recovery. Islanders' worst team in the third period. Yeah, what was it? The broadcast said, or at least the one I was watching, it wasn't on my TV, so I had to stream it. They were saying that it was 33 goals in the third period for the Islanders this year again. So, there's still a lot to work on for the Bruins, but it's a good way to end the game here for the Bruins. But it was a very bad goal to tie it as well, and a weak penalty on Zadorov, but ultimately worked out well, and I won't complain. Zadorov really showed that open net. He did. He ripped that puck into the open net on the back end. I heard it hit the post, and I thought he missed it first, not going to lie. But let's get into the screenshots here, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to pull up the box score. I'll leave this up for a minute. We can have a little discussion about this. But we really saw the people that we needed to show up here in this game show up. And that's one thing I think we've been waiting for. A goal and assist from Zadorov. You know, still pretty bad turnover there on that third goal. But ultimately, he got the bounce back on the empty net goal out of the penalty box. The most Zadorov goal he probably could have gotten. Yeah, it was just, I was still looking at it. It was absolutely crazy. 6-3 final, David, for the Boston Bruins, a big W. Yeah, and that penalty, Jaden, for Zadorov, realistically, that shouldn't have been a penalty. You know, ultimately played out well for him, getting on the score sheet on the goal side of things for once. But yeah, it really shouldn't have been a penalty. But luckily it was at the end of the game, and luckily it didn't really cost us anything. But looking at David Pastrnak here in this game, Pavel Zacha, Brad Marchand starting it off well, Pastrnak playing well really the entire game, Pavel Zacha going out getting 2 goals at the end. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're looking to see game in and game out. And realistically, we're looking at this as well. 21 shots, still not even the best game we've seen from the Bruins, but we saw what could happen when we put pucks on net in really any given scenario. And one thing, as I mentioned, that the Bruins have been missing is those shots on net, the tips in front, the rebounds, anything to just get a dirty goal is really what we really haven't been seeing as of late. I think Zacha and Geeky missed what they were aiming for. They hit the net. Yeah, honestly, that really is a good way of putting it, you know. Their issue has been just not shooting it, and shot today, they saw what happened, so maybe or not, they might try and miss the boards next time and aim for the net for the next few games. Which is something that if they do, and if that's the thought process, I'm all for it. Absolutely all for it. Let's head back to this as well, the box score once again. Elias Lindholm, 2 assists as well. It's a really solid game from everybody that was playing for the most part. A few, you know, messes in the second period, but the way that this win happened and the way that we kind of got to look at this, I'm not even going to really consider those as issues for now. You know, obviously they're going to be talked about just to kind of get this team back under their feet and get going for games like this and kind of just clean up what they can fix. But you got to look at the positive on things like this, which is what the Bruins are going to do in this game, for sure. Andrew Peeke as well, someone I wanted to kind of give a shout out to. He's been very, very solid since returning. But yeah, now it's just time for, as you mentioned, Jeff, Pastrnak to get back on the goal side of things on the score sheet. 3 assists tonight, but I still need to see him pile into some goals. I seen as well this morning, there was someone saying, or someone put on Twitter, that now at this point, Pastrnak is projected for below 30 goals, which is something that we can't see. It's something that we don't want to see, especially for our guy, David Pastrnak, not feasible. And I do have as well the stat card here for this one. As you see, a lot of positive, which I think is exactly what we wanted to. The offense, that down in the negative, the light blue for the team offense, I'm totally okay with that. As long as the defense and everything is just kind of all adding up to become a big win and a solid win at that, I couldn't care about the individual offenses. Mason Lohrei, Trent Frederic, Tyler Johnson, Mark Haslick, Charlie Coyle, Johnny Beecher, Cole Koepke, and Mason Lohrei. Those are really the big negatives, but I'm not worrying about that at all. McAvoy, still want to see him get better as well. That's another one that I should mention that we kind of need to see get better as well. It is unacceptable for a guy like Pastrnak right now. At least what we're seeing here, the 3 assists in this game are starting to get back into it. I'd rather see him get 3 assists than the team win 9-0 and Pastrnak have 0 points. As long as we're starting to see some things click, Pastrnak will get there, and I'm confident that he will because, it's David Pastrnak. Realistically, he shouldn't be in the issue he is, but everybody gets into a slump. Some worse than others, and Pastrak's kind of in that tough one right now. Pastrnak will get there, but he's too fancy. He just needs to get goals like the others did tonight. Exactly, Jaden. And that's what I mentioned in the stream last night, is that when they weren't shooting, they were really just trying to feed Pastrnak too much. And I think that Pastrnak just kind of get over the blue line. If you got an open net, you don't have anything to make, don't even try to just move around the zone. Don't try and make the extra pass. Put it on net. If you get it on net, it's going to be a save, a face-off, a rebound, or it's going in. There's many opportunities in the on any type of shot, at least if you're in the zone. Exactly, Jaden, too. That's a good point. And yes, Jeff, it also was a very, very good game by Brad Marchand. As I mentioned, for those who are just coming in, I did miss the first period, but seeing Brad Marchand come in and get those 2 goals early, it's exactly what we're looking for. That's the kind of start that we need this team to have. Going into games against a tough defense like the New York Islanders. And obviously the third period struggles persisted in this game. But we know that this 1-3-1 team, the neutral zone trap team of the Islanders, it can be very tough to play against for many, many teams. Coyle looked good, but he's looking good all season. His effort is there. Exactly, as well. I'm very happy with the way everybody really played on this team. I think Pasternak's hitting the ice every night with the all-star mentality, showing off too much. That is very true. And that's a good point to point out, Gasoline Cowboy. The way that we've seen Pastrnak kind of maneuver the offense in the zone is really too fancy. And I saw some of you guys say that as well, that he just needs to keep it a lot simple, very, very simple. And I think that once he gets that simple kind of goal-scoring aspect back, that's when he can start going back to the confident David Pastrnak that we've seen all career, I guess we could really say, is a good way of putting it. And I'm okay with him just kind of doing the simple stuff until then. And when we get back to the goal scoring, we get back to the Pastrnak and get 2 to 3 points a game like tonight, except put him in the goal points, the goals tally. We're good. We're good for then. But right now, we still need to get him back to the simple basics and just let it go easy. Elias Lindholm was fantastic. Absolutely. The top 6 on this line was just really, really good. I'll say that this game, I still think that there are some things that they can fix, but as I mentioned, I don't want to focus on those because this is a big one that we got to take it in a positive way instead of just going out there and picking up the negatives, because this was a big win, and this is one that the team should really kind of look at as they go for him. Zacha's 2 goals was insane. I think it's a good and just need a bounce back game. Exactly. That's one thing about Zacha too, that I like Zacha a lot. And I think that he was just due for a bounce back before we get into the rhythm of him being thrown into trade rumors and everything. And those are guys that you don't really want to trade, but if it comes down to it, especially with the cap hit and everything, you're going to have to. But if Zacha's making a name for himself, the guy really got 2 options. Then you could trade him or keep him back on this first line if he's playing good. And I think that's what the Bruins are trying to do, is get them back to play good, with the risk of a trade kind of being there to kind of, boost their momentum a bit, then go at it. And that's what we love to see. I still want to see the kids up, though, especially Poitras, Lysell, and Merkulov. I completely agree, Jeff. And I think that's just a matter of time. And we saw Tyler Johnson back today, so Mark McLaughlin's out of the lineup. But still, you never know when someone else is going to get hurt. You never know when someone might be on a bit of a cold streak. And we saw that happen throughout the early part of the season. Some of the younger kids came in, get a little bit of juice going, and then kind of get the other regular back into their lineup. But I think it's only a matter of time until we do see at least one of them in the lineup again. And hopefully Lysell could be the next one. Marchand found his stride. That is absolutely correct as well. Marchand started this game hot and continued to play this game hot. And I'm excited to see how, or I'm going to expect the reactions for this game too, that I will see if we can get here in the stream. But the way that this mentality should be hitting these players right now, especially after a game like this, should be very, very good. And it should be really just kind of clicking now and getting going and getting this rhythm in practice and looking forward to the next game playing the exact same way. It's about time Marchand again, getting things going, but Zacha, that's even better. Happy for him. Passo's creating Bruins hockey, but this New York Islanders, let's not get crazy. I completely agree. And as well as someone said earlier, that the Islanders defense in the third period is the worst. They have the most goals against in the third period on the season, so we can't get ahead of ourselves, but this is a good way to boost that and momentum and, just get ready for next game, knowing that you could do it again, because Elias Lindholm is a very good goalie. There's no stopping that. And the Islanders have very good defense. It just so happens that the third period for them is not their game. But still, you got to acknowledge that these guys are still pretty good on defense, and we were able to beat them there in the third period tonight. Korpisalo as well. I was waiting for somebody to say that. Korpisalo was an absolute dog tonight, as always. Whenever he's in the net, I have no doubt in his confidence, and he has had occasionally some pretty weak goals and stuff like that, but, a lot of the ones tonight, well, obviously I didn't see the first period as I mentioned earlier, but the one on that giveaway, nothing he could have really done. It was just a brutal giveaway in the zone at the end of the second period, and then they kind of went around and walked around the offensive zone for a bit, but ultimately, I absolutely love the way that Joonas Korpisalo has played with this team so far. Yeah, and they need to build off this, and as you mentioned, Jeff, there, Geeky and Zacha, Marchand, the guys who've been struggling a bit and really need to build off this. And I'm even going to say Pastrnak. He has to take that with him as well, knowing that, it don't matter if you're not in the goal column. As long as you're playing a solid game, setting up goals, the threat of him being able to score goals is always going to be there. So just say on the power play, when they're set up in the zone, if he sits on that right circle somewhere, he's going to be covered at all times, knowing how lethal he is with his shot. So I'm excited to see how he kind of goes over the next few games, if he's not going to try to go for the goals every time, or if he's going to keep stuff simple, and I hope it is going the simple route. That will be the best option for him, I think, for the next few games at least, before he gets back to his kind of momentum. Exactly, Jaden. That's what I mentioned as well when we got him. I was very happy Joonas Korpisalo, how he played in LA, I believe it was, before we got him, before he went to Ottawa. He was incredible. Ottawa's just a very tough situation for goalies right now, and it's pretty evident with Linus Ullmark, unfortunately, but Korpisalo just really needed a good goalie coach, and Bob Essen's is him. That's what we needed to see for Korpisalo, really to get his career back under his feet, and it's been working very evidently here in this game. And I will pull up the box score once again. He's at the bottom there. I know it's very small, but even 21 saves, 24 shots against, that's not horrible. An 875 save percentage is not great, but he made the saves when it mattered, which is the big thing. And I don't care if, he's letting in goals that are mistakes on the defense, but the team makes up for it. That's perfectly fine by me, knowing that we were going to make up for it. But he's standing on his head when it really matters, and it makes me happy to be able to see that for Korpisalo. I'm a huge Korpisalo fan anyways, so seeing him on Boston now is a very big bonus. Exactly, Cowboy. That, even though it's the Islanders, and I will say the Islanders are good, but they're not great. They're really, really not great. But regardless of who you win, I don't care if you go out and beat a junior team. That's still a big momentum boost, and that's what you want to know. A goal even if you lose 10-0, a goal in that game from yourself, that's going to boost some sort of momentum for yourself. May not be for the team, but for yourself. And I think that's what this team really has been looking for. And especially from the guys that we really saw score the goals today. Marchand, Zacha, Geeky's game, Pastrnak's game, Lindholm's game, the top six, realistically. The ones that we need to get going, got going. And that's perfect. I'm excited to see that as well, Jeff, that you mentioned that, to not shift the lines. And I understand that's what Jim Montgomery had to do, but he wasn't really getting help from Don Sweeney or, Cam Neely or any moves on that side of things. But being able to consistently see some teammates gel, it's been very, very evident in, the past few games that Joe Sacco's been head coach. This game especially, we really saw the guys finally feel like they're comfortable on their own line. They're not kind of they're not kind of really rushing anything into a new line if something's not working. He's giving it time, letting it play out, and we saw this in the second period. They weren't playing great. They didn't change the lines. He went out, came out in the third period, and we saw how good the third period was for the Boston Bruins, and I'm very, very happy that finally we can see some consistent lines. It's getting confusing watching with Jim Montgomery go out and change the lines every single night, going out and change the lines, not even every single night, every single shift, really. You don't know who's on whose line. You're going to see wild passes where someone else should be. It made no sense, but it did. If you understand what I'm saying, it was a pain to watch, but very, very happy that we got this result here tonight. And what Joe Sacco has been doing has been absolutely fantastic. And Steven, I do think Sacco will fix it. I really do hope that he will fix that power play. I think that's next on the agenda. Pastrnak may be a key in that to try and, get something going with him on the goal scoring side of things. And we kind of mentioned if things don't get better or put Zadorov in front of the net, whatnot. But I think Lohrei also needs to get that power play won. I'm very excited. They absolutely do need another score. And I think that's going to be something that they're going to be looking at. And as I mentioned, if the goal scoring tonight didn't happen, I think that they'd be kind of pressured into making a move. But right now, I think they kind of got a bit of wiggle room, a bit of breathing room before they actually do want or need to make a move. So I'm excited to see what goes on with the goal scoring and the power plays over the next few games. I didn't think that he would be unemployed for too long, Jaden. I really thought that Jim Montgomery was going to be, 5 days was pretty quick, but I didn't think it was going to take very long. I believe every single Bruins coach that got fired under Don Sweeney, which was Bruce Cassidy and, oh my God, I'm blanking. Who was the other? You know who I'm talking about. They both got hired, I believe, within a week or so, or a week or 2 weeks. So I really didn't expect Jim Montgomery to be unemployed too long, but he was a good coach, and I really just think the Boston Bruins was not the most ideal situation for him at that very moment, which it was evident pretty much now with seeing how the team kind of transitioned overnight, I guess we can say. Yeah, I think, Sacco will stay for the whole season. I think that this is going to be a real test to see what he can do with this team and how kind of the transition from now, I guess, where the team is still playing pretty good until the end of the season and see what changes are made, how good or bad they were, and could he potentially make this team even better in the offseason and the additions that they would make in the offseason, free agency, from there different, like if he can kind of change up some things, because we've seen a pretty big change in Elias Lindholm so far, and this is the Lindholm that we've been really be hoping for all season. We haven't seen Jim Montgomery do that, so now that Joe Sacco kind of already got him in that change, I like what we're seeing in him. And exactly, Jaden, he's been here for so long, I really don't think they're going to kind of fire him, even though he's an interim. I don't think they'd move him back to assistant, so I think that he's probably here for a big test, and open for it. The way we've seen him react, especially that penalty tonight for Zadorov, he was not happy about that. That's the coach I want to see. And we saw Jim Montgomery do it, but he didn't really do anything after it. Joe Sacco seemed to really fire up this team, especially as soon as he got into the job. Elias Lindholm will be the bump position like when we have Bergeron on our power play. That's what I think the Bruins are missing, is a good bumper. And, you see every good power play in the NHL now have a bumper, and it's one thing the Bruins haven't really had success in. So I think they need to focus on that, focus on having Pastrnak, and focus on having just any open shot. Shooting is a big thing as well on the power play that really hasn't gone full tilt, but it's probably easier said than done to make these changes, to make this happen, overnight, but we have the blueprint for it, and I think that's what we're working towards. Very happy to say that finally this team is working towards a positive outcome on something. Yeah, the longest unemployment was 6 days. There we go. That's what it just goes to show how good these Bruins coaches are that just really kind of lose the voice in the locker room. As good point, Ian. That will be a real telltale sign about where we're going to be at that point. Also, how this team's going to play against the Winnipeg Jets. They're a very solid team right now. Very, very solid. And yeah, exactly. It does seem like this team has more trust in Joe Sacco, and they seem like they're playing harder. It almost seems like they're going out of their way to make sure that they're not going to disappoint him, which really didn't seem like we've had earlier on in the season. I want to see if we end up firing Sweeney because of the 3 first-round picks in 2015 are all gone, and we don't have enough great prospects. I think that's just going to be another reason, and if Don Sweeney, of course, is fired, it's an if, but I think it's trending towards yes. That will certainly be a talking point in the whole discussion, and realistically, as soon as you see Don Sweeney, if he gets fired, that's going to be the first thing you're going to see. That's the first note that really comes to mind when you think of this as a Bruins fan, and not even Bruins fans. You see everybody clown us because of it, but, that's just a fault from, I wouldn't say the scouting team, because I'm sure the scouts didn't focus on just those 3 players, but the mistake is there for quite a few people to kind of take a hold of and put the blame for it. And, although those 3 players, even if it were, let's just say Eriksson, Barzal, and someone else, it don't mean they'd still be on the team. It just means that, they would have made a move to get a better player, and so the team ultimately probably would have been better then, but still, the better options were way, way guaranteed to happen, but ultimately didn't. Yeah, it's well, Kevin. I'm not complaining about Sweeney's draft picks either, or trades. The trades are pretty good, for the most part. There's some good, some bad, but they're not bad. They're not horrible when you come up and think of Don Sweeney's trade history as a GM. You don't think they're one of the worst, but his draft picks are questionable. Now, I do love this year's Dean Letourneau. I am a massive fan of him. I had him wanting to go to the Bruins before we even had that pick, before we even had the 25th overall pick from the Ottawa Senators. I wanted to see him in a Bruins jersey, a 6'7" center going to Boston College. I mean, there was no way the Bruins didn't get him. But now that we're seeing that, the way he's been playing and the way I think that we're going to see him develop kind of as his first year in college progresses, and then as we see him more, he's going to be a dog. I really do think that. And of course, even 6'7", he still needs to get a bit bigger, still a bit stronger, but he's going to be a unit when he gets to the NHL level. And DeBrusk walking, that's something I was not pleased with ultimately as well. That's the thing that we got to talk about as well when looking at Don Sweeney's career as the Bruins GM. Jake DeBrusk may not have had the best career here, or it was still good. The playoffs were excellent, but he may not have been the player that everybody wanted to be, but he was still very, very good. And letting him walk was a questionable decision. I know that he wanted quite a bit of money, but you gotta think about it too. The cap is going to go up. Everything was going to kind of work out in the end for him on the cap side of things, and Jake DeBrusk is a guy that really has a lot of potential to play with anybody in any scenario. We saw that with the Vancouver Canucks this season, or so far. He's been playing fantastic, and just goes to show, any kind of minute change that could have been made, DeBrusk would have easily been your guy to kind of hop into that situation and play it out for you. He's kind of that Swiss Army knife that the Bruins had. A back-to-back Friday and Saturday. I can have a look. I do not recall off the top of my head. I'm assuming that next 2 games at least, or 3 games, are going to be kind of the same roster, hoping that we're going to see the same kind of system of things going, and play it from there. But they have a game Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern against the Penguins, and then no game Saturday and a game Sunday against the Canadiens at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Then we have a back-to-back Tuesday and Wednesday. So we have the Penguins, the Habs, the Red Wings, and the Blackhawks the next 4 games. And then the Flyers on the next Saturday. In my mind, those are 4 games that we should win. Those are 4 games that if this team plays like the way they did tonight, plays the way they did yesterday with more shots, this is a winning team. And especially all 5 of those games, I really see the Bruins winning every single one of those handedly. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to play this exact way because we know the way the Bruins have played, but if they do play the way they've played under Joe Sacco, they're playing the way they have in the past few games, they should all be wins, 100%. That's one thing as well, David, that the trading of picks for Don Sweeney, he liked doing that. And I guess it did make sense when the Bruins were buying, and now we're seeing them not buy still have their first round pick this year, don't have a second, and I believe have all of the other ones. I think that's what it is. So it'll be interesting to see if he kind of goes to get a few more picks or whatnot, because the Bruins are still in that kind of retooling phase, as they have been the past few years after they lost Bergeron. But the way that the team is built right now, if they can get an NHL-ready player with their first-round pick, they do that. If they don't, I mean, I don't see why there's no reason to trade it. I think that they have a lot of options to do with that first-round pick, but I don't know if they're going to use that in any specific way. You know what I mean? Like, any way soon. It could be a trade on draft night. We never really know. Especially with Don Sweeney. I don't think there's any harm in saying that. Heinen letting go too. That was a really, really good signing, especially coming off a PTO. He was a dog last year. I mean, he was one of the best players on the team, one of the most underrated players on the team, and letting him walk, I understand probably giving him another opportunity, but, you know, there wouldn't have been a hurting opportunity for a player like him to come back in and slot in somewhere, you know, in that case, would have been taking over for Tyler Johnson, I guess, or would have been in Tyler Johnson's spot this season. But ultimately, you know, he was a player that I think could have been hit or miss on a let go or keep. You know, you can get someone around his level, but I do understand second tenure in Boston. He meant a lot to this team. Yeah, that's the Centennial game, isn't it? On Sunday. I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't mind the jerseys. I kind of like them, but I also did like last year's a lot as well. Yeah, they're very nice, though, both of them. But I do prefer last season, no doubt. Yeah, and that's right, Steven. If we do end up trading for Kreider by some sense of the imagination, and I'm still kind of on the fence about it, well, I'm all for it, but if I don't know if the Rangers will still do it. If the Rangers do it, I think that, yeah, of course, he got to be on that power play because he's a dog. He's an absolute dog. And he's a bona fide goal scorer too. So that's one thing that would certainly help them. It would help the offense already, but adding the goal scoring help and adding the power play help, it really is just a perfect scenario. But probably a tough one for the Bruins. How long do we see Dean Nortourneau? It could be, well, this is his first year of college. I believe he has to play one more for sure, and then I think he has the option of staying one more year. So it could be 2 to 3 years. I think, you know, not this offseason, but the next offseason is one where it could happen. I can't exactly recall, but I believe it's either not this offseason, but the next one or the one after. It'll all depend on what he wants to do with college as well. So that will, I guess it'll depend for then. So I can't really say a for sure date. The Rangers did lose against. Oh, hopefully we're seeing some more from that. Chris Kreider had some sort of quote today I read, but apparently it was just about an injury. I thought it was going to be something about the trade report, but I didn't see it. So, and Brock Nelson from the Islanders. I think that that's certainly an option as well, especially that if we continue to keep playing better and we're scoring at this, if we're scoring at this level to kind of boost some more scoring ability, I don't see why Brock Nelson is not a great option. And that's exactly right, Ian. I don't know who the Rangers would want for Kreider. You know, they're obviously not going to want prospects, I wouldn't say, because they're a win now. They're not a win now team, but they're ready to win now, I guess is a good way of putting it. So being able to give them NHL ready players in return could be the option that they're looking for. And we have quite a number of those, because that'd be ideal for the Bruins, actually, because we have no prospects. And Taylor Hall did get a hat trick tonight as well, for those interested, and we've been kind of keeping tabs on him as well. If the Blackhawks are willing to trade him, that's another option, I think. But it'll only be a matter of time until we see. I'm excited to see when we get more trade reports. Obviously, we've seen the ones right now, but you only hear about it once, and then we kind of got to give our take yes or no on it. We don't really have that, you know, trade rumors yet on anybody except for David Jiricek so far for the season before the trade deadline. But I liked it. I like what we're seeing so far from the players that we have options from. Yeah, the Centennial jerseys are Fanatics, and for the on ice ones, like the official ones that the players wear, are $600. I think there's like 100 of those. Yeah, I think it's like 100 or something, or 1,000 for like the Centennial. But I believe they're just kind of the classic jersey price. $200 maybe. Let me see if they have them, because I know they were releasing them at a later date, and they should be released now, because this was, geez, a couple weeks ago now. Centennial jerseys. Centennial jerseys. I mean, nothing is easy to find on these websites. Oh my. Centennial. So the premium, which Fanatics I believe has a couple levels of jerseys. Like they have the breakaway ones, which are $290 Canadian. I don't know if that is American. The premium ones are $381 Canadian. And the breakaway ones are, perfect. I know a few people have a breakaway one. I don't have one yet, but I'm looking to get one, and that's the one I'm going with. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. A jersey is a jersey. You know, it's not like we're putting shoulder pads and elbow pads on underneath it. But, yeah, very expensive. $381.99. Let's see what that is American. Because I know a lot of you guys are American. CAD to USD. So that's $272 American for the premium jersey, which, does that one have a fight strap? I know some have a fight strap. I don't think this one, I think the authentic one does. Well, I don't know. There's another one here for $194. I don't know the difference. This one is premium jersey, and this one's premium. Oh, Premier Breakaway. Okay, yeah. Maybe they want Trent Frederic, Pavel Zacha, and maybe a first or a second rounder pick. I think that Trent Frederic would certainly be an option. I think that he kind of embodies a Chris Kreider a bit. Kind of that big size physical guy. Can put the puck in the back of the net. Is decently quick, but it will all depend. I think they're probably going to want that more and that pick. So you are right there, Steven. I think that's pretty much the baseline of it. But I'm very hesitant on giving up too much. I don't want to say giving up too much, because obviously Chris Kreider's a major addition. But Trent Frederic, if Pavel Zacha really starts to play well like he did this game, like consistently, I probably wouldn't do that with a second or first round pick. But ideally, I would trade Trent Frederic, a second, and maybe some other piece. Well, definitely another piece, but I just don't know which one off the top of my head right now. But the way that this trade kind of, plays out in my mind, the way that it's kind of built from what I'm seeing a lot of people kind of giving up here, I like that. I like the way it's kind of scheming out to be. And still, we still don't know if this is even a play by the Rangers, or if this is just something that they're saying to try and generate some momentum in the locker room. I think that both are possibilities, but I do hope severely that it is a possibility. Because, the reaction of all Rangers fans, they do not want to make a trade before Chris Kreider. They want him on this lineup. And, it makes sense, as he would. The guy's been there his entire career, is a legend on that team, has performed incredibly, and they're kind of throwing him under the bus because they're not playing well. You'd think you'd get rid of someone else other than that, and kind of still crazy to me. But if possible, if they do end up, looking to trade him, I'm all for it. Absolutely. From an outside perspective, that is. Sweeney for Kreider? I would do it, of course. That sounds like a good deal to me. Gave up someone that's ruining our team for someone that's only going to make it better. And that's what I thought as well, Steven. I think that the Bruins probably could have kind of that hand-up advantage for obviously, hometown reasons. I'm sure they would love to have him here, you know, the Boston crowd. And I see no reason that he wouldn't want to, realistically. And obviously, I understand not wanting to leave New York is definitely a factor that he has. But if he goes anywhere, I wouldn't see why it's not Boston. Zadorov for a ham sandwich. Yeah. Zadorov tonight, I think, was a good example of what we could see. Obviously, the penalty at the end wasn't his fault. The turnover was pretty bad. But, you know, he can play to a level where he could be a very useful defenseman. But we really just haven't seen it in this season. Or with the Bruins at all, I guess a good way of putting it, too. Kind of emphasizes our point from it. But there are reports of him, you know, or from Elliot Friedman. I don't want to say it's a report, but it's kind of him just saying that, hey, if I'm Vancouver, I'd go back and trade for Zadorov after letting him go in free agency, which don't really make any sense to me. I guess the Canucks would like to have a defenseman, but I don't really see any positive in this from the Bruins standpoint just yet. I'd have to see, you know, kind of a mock trade, but I really don't know. I just seen the Charlie Lindgren thing. Whoever said that earlier in the chat. Who said that? I'm going to go up and have a look for it. Charlie, I don't know who said it, but that's horrible. That's terrible. Yeah, the third line for 30 million is an absolutely outrageous number, especially for a guy who's not even being a great, you know, player on the ice, I guess is a good way of putting it. I want to try and keep it nice, but he hasn't been great. And the fact that he's making that much on the third line for 5 years or 6 years, whatever it is, it's crazy. A number 88 alternate cream jersey. Let me have a look at the Bruins shop again, because I know they do have older jerseys. And I'll look on the American Fanatics website as well, Jaden, for you. Peak and Wotherspoon. Two guys as well, Jeff. Thank you for mentioning that. Two guys that have really pleased me lately. Two guys that I think are going to take a big step up soon. That have really just been exceeding all expectations, really. You know, they're guys that don't have, like, I don't want to say not too much on their plate, but don't really have too much expectation from a lot of people, but have exceeded every single one that they have had. So I would love to see them in a higher role with this team at some point. That would be the most ideal situation, Steven, and that's the time I'd be willing to give up a first-round pick, if the 50% retention for that. But just say if we did trade Zacha and we did trade Geeky, you know, I'm not saying this is going to happen or whatever, or even these two are in discussions for one of them, but those two contracts from Zacha and Geeky add up to be more than what Kreider's making. So realistically, that way would work, but I think still doing that and giving up a pick would just be not in the best idea for the Bruins. Oh, and Igor Shesterkin's contract as well. That's another one that kind of goes hand in hand with one of the worst contracts that you could possibly give out. You know, I understand he's a great goalie and he's important for the team, but $12 million is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm still looking for that jersey, Jaden. I'm gonna try and find it for you. It's a youth one. A Pastrnak Centennial Fanatics Breakaway third jersey on BostonProShop.com. Is this the pro shop in TD Garden? Does anybody know? I feel like it is, but I cannot confirm. But they do have them there for your for your interest. They have the Fanatics one. They have the Adidas one as well. So like the mid-range and the expensive one. So if you go on that website, bostonproshop.com, and you search up David Pastrnak, that's what I did. They have those cream jerseys there. The last 5 games, Korpisalo 4-0-1 and 176 goals against. Friday against the Penguins, I completely agree. And, having Swayman against the Canadians gives Swayman that, Swayman loves playing against rivals. And I think he always plays better when he kind of gets in that mindset, and what we've seen in the playoffs last year against the Leafs. Plus, Korpisalo, keeping him on a hot streak, I think next game got to be his as well. I like the way that they're looking over the next few games, and the way that this team is built for their goaltending, and the way the team can kind of work around that and really not have to rely on one goalie. I think it's very, very big, especially with Swayman not having the best season to this point. I think if the Bruins were to trade for Chris Kreider, they would probably try and get some retention. I don't think it'd be 50. I'd maybe say 20 to 25%, maybe even lower, just to kind of make it a bit more feasible for the Bruins. Because 6.5, let's not lie, that's a lot for the Bruins right now, especially with the cap space they have and what they would have to create to get them. But just say you probably get it down to $5 million rather than have it at 3.75. That's something I think the Bruins would absolutely do. $5 million for Chris Kreider for 3 years. Going to be 36 or 37 when it expires. I don't hate it. I don't hate that idea. The difference between the Adidas and Fanatics one, I think the Fanatics is like supposed to be the top of the line ones last year. That was our last year. They had the Adidas sponsorship in the NHL. So those, I think, well, they have the Adidas like stamp on the back. They have a more of a jersey feel rather than the other ones have more of a cotton feel, I believe. And the Adidas one has a fight strap. I know that for sure. And they're both on sale. So, I mean, that's another bonus as well. But yeah, they are both there for sure. So I guess kind of a good way to go look at it. And I know that there are a few differences, in the material too, like I mentioned. But I don't think it's anything major. I like pretty much everybody I know has the Fanatics ones over the Adidas ones just because of the price, and really, as expensive hockey jerseys are, it's absolutely ridiculous. But they're both nice. I know that for sure. I think last season Adidas posted something about it too. You may be able to go on their website and find it, or even if you search up Adidas Fanatics jersey difference, it'll be able to tell you for sure. But those are the ones that I think I know for sure. And I agree, Jeff. Korpisalo has looked better than Swayman so far this year, and I'm not saying that's going to change. I'm still kind of banking on that Swayman's, kind of mishap so far this season have just been because of no preseason. And, that might be a bit optimistic, but I'm really hoping that's what it is. It's all about. Anyways, I've been live for about 40 minutes, a lot longer than I expected, so probably will finish this one off here. I want to cover this game because this was a very, very fun game to watch. Second period's a bit stressful, as I mentioned, but the fact that what we've seen in this game, we saw a team that really bounced back from adversity, especially with Jim Montgomery coming into it, lacking in the goals the past few games, and this game was really the straw that broke the camel's back, and that's what we've been waiting for. And I'll pull up the screen, this quote once again before we finish it off. Charlie McAvoy said, the dam that's going to break at some point, let's just hope it's soon. Said that after last game, last night, and now it has happened. And we're very happy to see this. A great game from everybody on this team, and I'm very excited to see what comes out of the next game, how this team's going to kind of turn around and go into this. But that's a matter of time until we do see. So if you did enjoy the stream, if you did enjoy the content, give it a like, as well as hit the sub button if you haven't already. The support from you guys has been absolutely incredible lately, and I do appreciate every single one of you. It's a very good point to be a Bruins fan. Seeing this turnaround now after what we've seen at the start of the season, a lot of potential coming over the next few games. So I'm excited to see if they actually do follow up, if they do come in to this game as heavy as they did, and I'm excited to see how this team starts off next game. The first 5 minutes I think is going to be integral to how they play against the Penguins. Catch them while they're down. The team's been struggling a bit, the Penguins team has, so this is a perfect game to go into ahead of the Centennial game against Montreal, but I'm excited to see it. And I'll finish off a few more questions before we go, but Swayman being the backup for a while, I don't want to say backup, but I think that Korpisalo should kind of get the 60-40% of games for the time being. I do still think that, once again, though, Swayman needs to get in the net to be able to kind of get the feet back under him, but I like the way that we have seen Korpisalo play, and I feel like I do trust him a bit more at this point than Jeremy Swayman, but a very good stream. I do appreciate all of you guys, like I said, and if you haven't already hit the sub button, make sure to do so. We'll have another post-game video about this, and more than likely some more news, so I might do a double video tomorrow, one in the morning, one in the afternoon/evening, but, that's all I got. I do appreciate all of you guys for watching, but, yeah. Very good game. Very excited to see how it goes. Thank you, Carl, for the support. Good to see you as well. But yeah, like I said, I do appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you all in another stream. We'll see if it'll be Friday night against the Penguins. We'll see. I'll try and do it, but yeah, I'm excited. Can't really bench an $8 million goal, that's pretty tough, but the Bruins got to work with what's going on, and it seems to be working so far for the time being. But good night, everybody. Have a good night. I'm sure it's all earlier for you than it is for me right now. But have a good night. Hope to see you all next stream, whatever time it may be, whatever game it is. But yeah, having fun with these ones. So I do appreciate all of you guys. Like I said, I'm a broken record, but you guys are the reason I enjoy doing this as well. It's just covering the team that we all love. So, like I said, thank you guys for all watching, and I will see you all in the next one, and hopefully in the comments of the videos. But see you later.